Morning. This morning then, Proverbs chapter 6, verses 1 to 19. The warnings against adultery get interrupted, and there are three ways to stop or avoid being foolish. You don't want to be an impulsive lender. You don't want to be a sluggard. And most of all, you don't want to be a troublemaker. There's some escalation in the three. The father figure of the book of Proverbs. So he says, my son, don't be an impulsive lender. He says, now sluggards, don't be like that. And then he talks about in the third person, the corrupt character, the troublemaker. So there's bad, worse, worst. First of all, then, in the first few verses, don't be an impulsive lender. So chapter 6, verse 1, my son, if you put up security for your neighbor, if you've shaken hands in pledge for a stranger, you've been trapped by what you've said, ensnared by the words of your mouth. So here the person has been a guarantor for a loan, or perhaps lent money himself. Now, this is not an absolute statement. So you can read in Proverbs chapter 3, verses 27 and 28. Do lend, do be generous. Broadly, the Old Testament would say, be generous, but don't be reckless. And here it seems to be the impulsive lender to a neighbor without thought, to a stranger he doesn't really know. And then all of a sudden he's realized, well, what have I done? I've been reckless here. Well, what you should be active if that's the case. So verse 3, do this, my son, to free yourself, since you've fallen into your neighbor's hands. Look at the activity. Go to the point of exhaustion. Give your neighbor no rest. Allow no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyelids. Free yourself. Be active in extricating yourself from that scenario. Biblical faith is not naive. There's lots of activity involved. And actually, it's activity that ties the first, the sort of reckless, impulsive lender, to the sluggard, the second one, because you get lots of the same language. Do you see go? We're told again, and then this little sleep, a little slumber ties back to what we've had here already. Go, sleep, slumber. Don't be a sluggard, don't be lazy. You can learn lots from the ant. So verse 6, you can learn, verse 7, you can learn, well, be a self-manager. So the ant has no commander, no one ordering it what to do. It's just self-motivated, gets on with tasks. Verse 8, the ant works hard, so it stores provisions in summer. Well, in Palestine, the heat of summer, to be working, is hard work. But the ant does that because it's looking forward. It sort of plans. So you be self-motivated, work hard, and plan. It's gathering food at harvest because at some point there'll be no food. By contrast, the sluggard, verses 9 to 11, how long? How long will you just lie there, sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? You know how it is. Just a little bit more. I'll just snooze a little bit more. Next week, next month, next year. Full of daydreams, the sluggard achieves very little. And so in this vivid metaphor, verse 11, poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. So don't be an impulsive lender. Don't be a sluggard. Worst of all, verses 12 to 19, don't be a troublemaker. Look at all the body language again, similar to we had in chapter 4. So the troublemaker and the villain goes around with a corrupt mouth, who winks maliciously with his eyes, signals with his feet, motions with his fingers. But central, once again, is the heart. Deceit is in the heart. That's really the most important thing of all. But what's really the problem with this man is conflict. So at the end of verse 14, he always stirs up conflict. So disaster will overtake him. This picture, there's sort of x plus 1 of verse 16. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. That's a sort of biblical picture for focus on the last, which again is one who stirs up conflict in the community, just on the screen. So again, that's the issue, stirring up conflict. Yes, in society, The Lord doesn't like divisive people, but supremely in the church. Someone who plans and plots to stir up mischief in the church, creates dissent in the church. The Lord hates it. And in one of those hints that Proverbs gives of eternal future, there is a judgment. Verse 15, the Lord, disaster, will overtake him in an instant, and he'll be destroyed. So don't be foolish. Don't be foolish, chapter 6 would say. Don't be impulsive in what you do in lending money. Don't be a sluggard who just is like a slug on a garden wall crawling at 1 millimeter a day. Don't be a sluggard. But worst of all, don't create conflict. Those are 3 foolish, foolish ways to live. Don't do that. Be wise.